Senator James Lankford of Oklahoma serves on the Senate Intelligence Committee. Senator, thanks for being here. I want to get your reaction to the breaking news that Robert Mueller has been chosen as special counsel by the Deputy Attorney General to oversee this investigation.
I think it's good news on it, but I think it also helps expedite the process because the good folks of the FBI, the career folks that are there, have been leading this investigation. There's been a lot of work that they've done, and my concern all along is that someone would be selected or they would push this to an outside individual and run something autonomous from the FBI and be able to skip and lose all of that work that was there. It was my questions to McCabe last week when he came before us. Is the FBI prepared? Do they have enough people? Are they capable of being able to finish this? He was unequivocal in yes, bringing in a Robert Mueller, he's going to access all those same folks and that same information. So that's a plus for us to be able to keep this thing moving and not have to start all over again.
Senator, I guess the question is, what do you think changed in the Deputy Attorney General's mind about having enough resources, being able for the FBI to handle the investigation as it was going? And you heard the acting director, McCabe, testify to you, among others, that they had everything they needed and they were committed to continuing this investigation as it stood.
So I don't know that anything has changed other than there has to be a decision maker. There has to be a prime mover in this, that when decisions have to be made for directions on the investigation, who's going to do that? At this point, McCabe obviously is the interim director. You've got Rosenstein, which has had the challenge right there already. You'll have a new FBI director at some point, and I think the decision was made, from what I can tell, to say we've got to have somebody that's the prime mover, last decision maker in this, that is unequivocal, neutral on it, and nonpartisan. And if he brings in someone like a Mueller, it allows them to do that, but also allows the FBI agents to continue to be able to do their work.
Where do you think this investigation stands? Obviously, we've seen a number of reports. They are from anonymous sources, including the one in the New York Times that broke yesterday, citing these memos. I know there's been a call for former Director Comey to testify and to provide those memos. But do you believe that to be true as it was written in the story originally?
That's the great unknown. This for the last several months, there's been an overwhelming number of anonymous sources and unnamed sources that are out there in media stories. We tried to push with the Select Committee on Intelligence from the Senate to be able to actually get facts, get the real sources, get those individuals, be able to talk to them, to be able to see the documents behind it. So we're not getting unnamed sources, we're actually getting the facts. I know the FBI has been working to do the same. So at the end of the day, we want to be able to meet with Comey. We need to be able to talk with him. We have requested of McCabe to be able to present any documents that Comey may have had, any notes that he would have, so he can add to our investigation. We will continue our investigation, gathering those notes, doing interviews, the same as Mueller will now lead the investigation to be able to do that. So we really have 3 investigations going. All 3 of them are independent of each other, and all of them are checking each other, and all of them should be nonpartisan.
There is some frustration at the White House, or reported frustration, about the lack of an investigation into leaks, the unmasking part of this. Do you believe that will somehow step up under this new structure under Robert Mueller?
That should be a part of the investigation. It has been a part of the investigation from the Senate Intelligence Committee to be able to look at it. We have to be able to look at the actions of Russia and what they did against us during our last campaign. We have to answer the question if there was any collusion from any American citizen with a foreign government in our election, and we have to answer the question of leaks. That has always been a part of our investigation because all of those are serious issues, have to be addressed, and I would hope the FBI would be able to continue that as well. Obviously, they will determine the boundaries of their investigation as they have the facts, and they're going to go where the facts are going to go. But we know the direction that we're going to try to go and get the answers to.
Senator, one of the things that has not leaked since the beginning of this, and we have seen, as you've mentioned, many leaks, is any hard evidence of collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russians. You're on the Intelligence Committee. Can you tonight say definitively that you have not seen any evidence of that collusion?
We're going where all the facts go. I'm not trying to state anything before we are done, but we have agreed together to be able to look at everything, to go down every path, and to answer every question.
And so far you haven't seen anything?
So I'm not going to say where we are so far. I'm going to say we're going to keep following the facts, so when we get to the end, we can say with certainty we've checked every area, and this is the final result that we found. But I do not like it when people try to prejudge where things are going. But I would tell you, people have not been shy to be able to leak out information as they have found it. So that's been pretty clear through the process. At the end of this, President Trump is going to have to do what President Obama did when there were lots of leaks in the Obama White House, is to be able to deal with the leaks that are coming out of the administration and coming out of any of these, because that also hurts our intelligence gathering long term.
If the Comey memo surfaces and we have our own independent confirmation that there is this memo, and there are many other memos of the former FBI director in one-on-one conversations, not only with the president but with others, where he took fastidious notes. If it is exactly the wording, as it's being told to us, of him asking Michael Flynn to hope that he can get past this investigation, asking James Comey if he can get past the investigation of Michael Flynn. In your mind, as some Democrats today have said, is that evidence of obstruction?
You know what, I've heard from legal authorities and other individuals that are knocking down this accusation of that's obstruction of justice. It's one thing to be able to say, I hope we can get past this, he's a good guy. It's another one to say, you're going to stop and we're going to find a way to stop it. If the president was trying to obstruct justice by releasing Jim Comey from his position, that was a miserable failure. It didn't look like he was, because he's not relieving any of the assets, the resources, trying to change anything from the FBI. That investigation continues regardless of who the director is. Clearly we can see that today. So there was no hesitation in the investigation, there was no delay, and there seemed to be no other pressure other than I wish this was all could get resolved. Everyone wished it could get resolved. But the issue at the end of the day is there a legal standard for that? Not that I have seen, and I can assure you plenty of folks are cherry-picking notes to be able to bring out what they want to bring out, but we don't have the context for it. We will try to get that full memo and to be able to have access so we can see all the context.
Yeah, Senator, you were one of the people who was against a special counsel or a commission at one point.
I was, and I have been very outspoken on that because it slows the process down. Now, this seems to be a type of hybrid to be able to bring someone in that's a former FBI to work with the FBI to make sure that they can get the job done. That's not something run as an independent track. If you go back to the investigations for Iran-Contra, for instance, that was a 6-year independent counsel. If you go to Whitewater, that's a 3-year. Even the Valerie Plame investigation was a 2-year. Those are all independent folks running their own independent track and could go wherever they want to go. If we want to get to resolution, we should work through the FBI process and the career folks that are there in the 2 committees. Then we can actually get to resolution. This seems to be a type of hybrid that they found a way to be able to thread the needle to use the FBI resources but still have an independent individual that's the last decision maker.
There's a lot of interpretation of this memo and the reporting on it. Why do you think then FBI Director Comey didn't come forward to your committee, to other committees, to even the acting director McCabe, who was then his deputy, at the time?
That's a great unknown. It's one of the many questions that we want to be able to ask him. If he felt that this was a threat against him or that someone's trying to shut down his investigation, he has plenty of individuals and lots of good relationships on committees on both Homeland Security and on intelligence to be able to come and say, I have some concerns. There's no evidence that that actually occurred. Obviously, he's taking notes, and some individuals are grabbing those notes and trying to put something out. We want to ask him directly about that now that he is no longer with the FBI, what his impressions were, and we want to get access to those notes.
Do you have any indication that he is definitely going to testify?
We have made the request. We do not have an answer back yet. We had hoped to actually meet with him yesterday, and that request was not fulfilled. We've engaged him again and said we want to do that. Mitch McConnell has come out with a public statement again today saying that is a reasonable thing to do, not only in private but in public. The American people also need to be able to hear this in this conversation, but we're addressing someone as a former person from the executive branch now outside of the federal government and addressing them and inviting them to come in. So we're going to do that. I do feel confident they will come. We'll try to get the timing right, though.
Senator, you had a litany of questions to the acting director McCabe, asking him if he had everything he needed, if there was any request for more resources. He said no, they were good to go. And you kind of one after the other asked him all these questions about the investigation. Now with a former FBI director at the head, do you think that this slows down at all in this time frame to get him up to speed? I
don't think it slows down anything at all. I think what the ongoing work of the career folks that are there, that are nonpartisan in the FBI, they'll continue their work. They will get Mueller up to speed, and it won't take him long to be able to get up to speed on the key issues because he's familiar with the people and the process from being former FBI director. He'll get up to speed on it, but the prime decision here, not to forget, is Mueller is not leading the investigation. He's coordinating everyone that is working on it day to day. Just like Comey day to day was not the investigator. He had an army of people under him that were carrying that out. Now Mueller has the new responsibility to make sure that the investigation's on track, on schedule. They have the resources they need. They're getting the answers to the questions they want to be able to press for subpoenas, to press for grand jury if they choose to do that. But he has the resources available to be able to do it with all the people in the process. So he can get up to speed quickly, but we've already been assured the FBI already has the resources. If they need more, they'll get it, because we all want to be able to get to an answer and a conclusion on this.
Senator, one more question, and this deals with the Comey memos. And we are being told that there are many memos dealing with a number of different things. One of the things that was talked about last night on my colleague Martha McCallum's show with Congressman Trey Gowdy was about the former FBI director and what he may have known about the Clinton interaction with the Justice Department. Just take a quick listen to this.
He had access to information that your viewers don't have, and they may not ever have because it is classified. But trust me when I tell you this, Martha, I know what it was. And I have been a critic of Jim Comey in the past. But he made the only decision he could have made with respect to appropriating that decision away from the Department of Justice and making the decision himself. And history will be a hell of a lot kinder to him than the Democrats were at the time.
I only take away from that you're suggesting that there were more entanglements between the Clintons and perhaps the Justice Department than everyone understands.
You're very perceptive.
Can you shed some light on that, Senator?
I can't and I won't. How about that? But I would say that's not really in the purview of our investigation. We're going to try to lock in on the Russia issues. History will prove a lot of things out in the times ahead, but our committee needs to be able to stay focused on the Russia investigation and not get distracted. As you mentioned before, there are previous independent counsels. They can continue to chase other issues, and it elongates the process. We need to stay on focus.
Right, but does Robert Mueller have the ability in this current role to, should the Comey memos open the door to other things like that, go there?
I would have to see actually the authorities that he's been given. I would assume he's been asked to be able to maintain this ongoing investigation of Russia's interference in our election. What happened related to that? Obviously, there are emails with the DNC that are all connected to that, so there'll be some aspects that will have to connect to that, but we'll see in the days ahead what direction he chooses to go. But that's up to him to choose that.
Right. It says in the release, other related matters, so we'll see what that means. Senator Lankford, we appreciate your time on this breaking news night.
You bet. Thanks, Brett.